Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Two Foot Attack podcast. I'm your host Ari Stamatakos. Welcome all again. Thank you for stopping by. We're back again for another episode of speaking about another 40 minutes of me chatting shit about football, which is my favourite part of the week because I do it anyway, so to do it in front of the camera and with some structure is always good. But I hope everyone is well as always. I hope the week has treated you all nicely. I hope you've all had a splendid week/weekend. I certainly have. The Australian Open has started. I think I mentioned that last episode. For those who aren't unaware, the Australian Open has started. I'm a semi-big tennis fan. Not a big enough fan to make a fucking podcast about it, but a big enough fan nonetheless. And I've been enjoying myself at the tennis, which is always good. Got a little bit of a, I was going to say tan. It's now a tan. It was once a burn. And I don't know if it's been caught up on the camera, but my face is peeling as I mess up my hair. My face is peeling a little bit. So hopefully the camera isn't as good of a quality. So yeah. So you can pick it up. But yeah, face is peeling a little bit. But you know what? We move. We only move forwards. But apart from that, it's actually been a very good week. Went to the tennis. Done some gallivanting around, which is always good. And I've watched a lot of football in between. And there's been a lot of footballing things that have happened in between, which we'll definitely discuss and touch on in today's episode. But before we start, I implore you all to subscribe to the Two Foot Attack podcast. Subscribe to the Two Foot Attack podcast on YouTube, notification bell, and like all the episodes. It would mean more than the world. And then obviously all the audio platforms, Two Foot Attack podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast, as well as all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, Two Foot Attack podcast on all the relevant social platforms. Follow, subscribe, like, rate, 5-star, thumbs up, whatever it is. You know the drill. There we go. Hope everyone is well. Yeah, I hope everyone has had a great week. It's been a pretty weird week of football. Obviously, coming back, going into like the real new year, not new season, but like obviously you had the New Year, Christmas games coming thick and fast, and then some of the big leagues had weeks off. FA Cup, League Cup. Then some fixtures are scrambled all over the place because there's obviously AFCON and Asian Cup and players are missing, and it's a big kerfuffled mess with like the Prem only having like 4 games on this weekend. The Prem only having 4 games on over the actual weekend, and 1 game on Tuesday morning, and then having midweek fixtures, and then getting back to relative normality from this weekend, which is awesome. Which is great. So there you go. But there is of course some football that we'll be touching on in between. The Asian Cup is still going. Australia have played their second game, which we'll touch on. Goodness gracious me. And then some other things have happened. Obviously, what's actually on the run sheet? I made the run sheet yesterday and I've kind of semi-forgot what's on it. Let's bring that up. But yeah, there's been a lot. So we'll be speaking about a lot. So IS. Okay. So what's on the run sheet? We're speaking about some people coming back, some people leaving, some people getting sacked, Asian Cup, some Australian football, and everything in between. So there's going to be a lot. I think, should we start off with just like an overall wrap-up of like some A-League action? Sydney won 4-0, they were clinical. Central Coast 1-1 against Melbourne City in what was a very funny last end to the game. Storm Maru asking Toglou Arslan to fight in the car park is just awesome gear. Victory drew 1-1 in what is I don't even know how you can give that a penalty. For those who saw it, you know what I'm referencing. For those who don't know what I'm referencing, go and seek it out. It'll be on Twitter, it'll be on YouTube. How that you can give that a penalty in the last minute, I don't know. Look, Victor's still undefeated. Granted, we're second and we're not first, but still undefeated. Still probably the best team in it. So I'm not going to sit here and complain all too much. Just here's one of those things. And of course, Premier League, Liverpool won 4-0 in a clinical display. Brentford 3-2, in which Ivan Toney returned. So we'll be speaking on that. Sheffield United won with a 103rd minute penalty from Ollie McBurney, including 2 red cards in extra time. Just an injury to a goalkeeper. It was just insane. And then Arsenal won 5-0 in another clinical display. yeah, in another clinical display, Gabriel Martinelli scoring 2 goals in the 90th minute, and Gabriel technically scoring 2 goals in the first half, even though one of them was an own goal. But you know what? I think the second one was his goal. Regardless, that's okay. Let's crack on. I see. Of course, also, Bayern Munich lost to Werder Bremen 1-0, and Bayern Leverkusen are 7 points clear? Is it? Yes, 7 points clear. Granted, Bayern do have a game in hand, but it would be incredibly funny if Harry Kane decided to go to Bayern for like a tap in title, and then only for Granit Xhaka and Bayer Leverkusen to stop him. Of course, they've not lost a game since they've not lost a game all season, and have not lost a game full stop, if friendlies included, since July. It's pretty fucked. It's pretty insane. Considering the squad is. I mean, their squad's okay. Like, their squad's good. Like, they've got good players. Obviously, like, Florian Wirtz is a fantastic player. I think Palacios has taken a step up this season. Funnily enough, I actually recommended Ezekiel Palacios as a Granit Xhaka replacement for Arsenal last January, I think it was, or the January before, or summer before. And it's funny how he's now in a midfield partnership with Granit Xhaka, winning the Bundesliga as things stand, which is pretty funny. Grimaldo has 7 goals and 8 assists in 18 games, which is pretty insane. Florian Wirtz is having a fantastic season, 12 goal contributions in just under 20 games, which is pretty good. And Patrick Schick, another person who I recommended to come to the Premier League, has just been reintroduced into the team. So we'll see if he can crack on in the second half of the year. So yeah, Leverkusen doing well. They beat Leipzig 3-2. So you never know. We could be sitting here in a couple of months' time speaking about Bayern choking for the first time in 10 years. So anyways, I'm digressing. Let's follow the run sheet. Let's speak on Ivan Toney. I want to speak on Ivan Toney. So that's how I'm gonna kick things off. Ivan Toney. For those who have been living under a rock, Ivan Toney made his return to football after 6 months on the sidelines for a betting ban, a gambling ban. He made his return, triumphant return, on the weekend. A lot of pomp, a lot of circumstance, a lot of hype. I think they played the Undertaker's theme song whilst introducing Ivan Toney onto the pitch, which I think is actually pretty funny. In fairness, as a wrestling fan, I appreciate that a lot. So yeah, there was a lot to enjoy around the pomp and the circumstance and the kind of ceremonious return in a sense. But regardless, it was all yeah, he's coming back, but he needs to do something on the pitch. And within half an hour of his return game, he smashes a free kick home to give Brentford the lead at the stage of that game, or to at least equalise. Can't quite remember. So yeah, obviously the way he did score the goal was pretty funny, moving the referee's magic spray to move the free kick across, and then using that angle to get it past the wall into the near post. It was a shithouse return, shithousery is kind of the word that I would use to summarise a return. I do find it pretty A, concerning, and B, kind of ironic in a sense that I do find it slightly ironic and slightly concerning that a person who was banned for 6 months for gambling issues, who has been also diagnosed with a gambling addiction, returns and is now wearing a shirt that has a betting sponsor on it. I feel like that's a little bit, look, come on, guys. Not read the room, but also if that is an indictment on the game that we're playing and the state of the game and what it's in. I mean, that says a lot, right? But yeah, there was something about Toney coming back after 6 months off, all the hype, all the circumstance, after all of his interviews, after all of the open admissions he has with gambling addiction, I should say, not drug addiction, with gambling addiction and being a gambling addict and the struggles that he's had to face with that. For him to come back and wear a gambling sponsor on the front of his shirt is a little bit like right, okay, so what are we actually doing here? What does that 6-month ban actually achieve when he's just going to come back and be surrounded by betting sponsors and gambling adverts and just gambling, multis, parlays, or like accas. Like, it's just everywhere in his face all the time. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's a little bit of a get over yourself. Maybe I don't think it is that, but it was good to see him back regardless. He's one of the great showmen of the Premier League. He is a very physically imposing striker, a very good striker, full stop. Very, very good, like underrated with the ball at his feet as well, I think. So yeah, it was good to see him back, and hopefully he can kick on for Brentford, because Brentford do kind of need him, because I want to say in a relegation dogfight, but because I feel like they're good enough to not get relegated. But they are 14th. Obviously, they did climb to 14th after that win. That was their first win since December, where they beat Luton 3-1. So if he can stay fit, if he can play the next 6 months of the season, they'll stay up, no dramas. They might even finish like 10th or 11th. And maybe they can get a good transfer fee from him. He should be playing at a better club, bigger club. Realistically, he should be at I think Arsenal's a great place for him. Realistically, I think he provides a brilliant backboard to Saka and Odegaard and Martinelli and Vieira when he starts to play a little bit more. And even Jesus, I think he's a better winger than he is a striker, like I said when they signed him at the start of last season. Yeah, I think he'd work great there. I think he'd work well at City if they want to move Haaland on. I think he's a pretty good replacement. I'd take him at Chelsea. I'd for sure take him at Chelsea, without a shadow of a doubt. He'd be someone that we lack. I know Nicholas Jackson has found a little bit of form, but also like he's someone that we could like use to give us anything. Any sort of like physical presence up front and a presence up front that can score goals. So I'd take him there. Would Spurs take him? Maybe. I don't know whether or not he fits into Ange's system. Even someone like a Villa, does he fit with Emery's system? Probably not. Probably Emery likes a little bit more of a dynamic front two, because he likes to play pretty stringent two banks of four. And so I don't know. But regardless, it was good to see him back. Good to see him back within the goals. And hopefully he can like parlay this return, good form, or a good start to his return, and kick on into the second half of the year and help Brentford climb the table and help his kind of status as a footballer. Obviously, with the Euros coming up, you never know if he can make the squad. So yeah, there's that. Just speaking on the gambling aspect of it though, because like, look, I'm over the age of 18, so I can say that I've had a bet or two or three, or that's it. But like, it's well and truly implemented and entrenched is the word I'm looking for. Bang, vocabulary. It's well and truly entrenched into sporting culture, but in particular football culture, right? Even in Australia and in England is very much the same. You cannot expect footballers who are, especially a footballer like Ivan Toney, who is very much a working class footballer, right? You cannot expect any footballer, regardless of who they are, to not have betted before, right? Whether it's on the horses, on the tennis, on the dogs, on fucking whatever, right? Latvian badminton, right? Whatever. You cannot expect a footballer to have not have gambled before, B, not have been tempted to gamble, C, not have spoken about gambling, and D, worked with gambling companies directly before. Because I can guarantee you, what is it, Hollywood Bets is the shirt sponsor of Brentford, can guarantee you they would have been in direct contact with Ivan Toney at some stage throughout that kind of partnership. Guarantee you. So how can you sit there and be like, Ivan Toney's a bad person for gambling? It's around him all the time. Like, no shit. Like, if you want to talk about preventability, come on. Like, if you want to talk about preventability and you want to talk about putting yourself in a position where that doesn't happen, come on. Like, I'm of the strong opinion that you cannot dictate what other people do, right? I can't tell Ivan Toney, or Brentford can't tell Ivan Toney to not gamble, right? Because it's his life, he can do what he wants. But he can put himself you need to be able to put other people or people you are responsible for in the best possible place to not do things. In the same way that we are taught crime is bad, right? The people who are responsible for us, our parents, guardians, teachers, whoever, like drugs are bad. They do this harm, right? You are educating someone. You are putting them in a good position to make informed decisions about what this is, about the harmful effects, right? You cannot, in this instance with Ivan Toney, you cannot sit there and go, do not gamble, it is against the law, but please work with this gambling sponsor that is our front of shirt sponsor, and that gives us 90% of our sponsorship revenue. Thank you very much. Can you please play in this stadium where they have Bet365 adverts running around all the time? Can you please do that? And then when you finish the game, make sure you do a post-match interview, which will be posted on Twitter. And in the response to that, there'll be people saying, "This guy scored and won my accumulator, won me 10 grand. Thanks, Ivan." Like, it is around him 24/7. So whether there needs to be reform about gambling in sport, that's probably the way that I would go with it. But whether there has to be reform about gambling in sport, which is the way I would go about it, or there needs to be lenient restrictions around what sports people can do when it comes to gambling. Whether or not they can gamble on their own team, or as long as it's not to lose, whether they can gamble on themselves scoring, because there has to be some change. There has to be some change, because it can't be the same thing over and over again. It just can't be. It can't do it. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents on it all. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on. Okay, what's next on the agenda? Okay, let's stay in England and let's move down the leagues, and let's speak about Troy Deeney. Troy Deeney. We all know Troy Deeney, right? Watford striker. We all know, right? We all love him. Some people love him. He was Forest Green Rovers manager. He's now been sacked as Forest Green Rovers manager after not winning in 6 games. After only winning once in like a month or like 3 months or whatever it was. He's been sacked. And some of the actions that he was doing is really funny. Now, I'm not going to sit here and explain the whole situation, because if you are on social media, you know Troy Deeney being the Forest Green Rovers manager and how he's acted. He is like the definition of someone you don't put as the manager of your football club, because as a footballer, right, there are very few managers, right? Very, very few managers that are firstly, how many strikers have become good football managers? There'd be a couple, obviously, like Johan Cruyff was an attacking-minded player and he was a great coach. A little bit different in my opinion, though, because he was more like a 10 or a centre forward rather than a pure number 9. How many forwards, like Troy Deeney, in the history of football, have turned into good managers, realistically? Like, Troy Deeney was this bully, physical, like ruthless number 9 who wasn't really involved in a lot of tactical complexities, but was the tip of a attacking quartet or trio, and the idea was to get the ball on his head or onto his chest and build around there. It wasn't like he was like pulling the strings from playing as a number 9 and weaving in and out of defenders and breaking lines. No. He was just at the top of a diamond or at the top of a front 3, get the ball to him, he can hold it up, and we can move from there, right? So the fact that he's a manager now is funny. But the way that he conducts himself is so bad. Like, the way I would despise if he was the coach of my football club, because I like coaches who are ruthless, right? You want a coach that will sit and tell it how it is, right? You want a coach that will sit there, like, Jesus Christ. You want a coach that will sit there and tell it how it is, right? You don't want it to beat around the bush. You don't want it to sugarcoat it. If this person was bad, this person was bad. But also, in the same vein, you want a coach that knows how to protect their players. Jose Mourinho, one of the best ever at doing it, protected his players to the death, right? Jurgen Klopp has protected his players in the public and in the media to the death. Pep Guardiola the same. You can tell behind closed doors, he'll give him a bollocking, right? He will abuse the shit out of him, right? Constructively, of course. But in the public eye and in front of the media, it's all protection. It's all me. I'm the reason that we lost. It's all my fault, etc., etc. Right? Troy Deeney did the opposite. Troy Deeney was like, this person is shit. He's so bad. He sucks in front of the media. Like, that is just objectively wrong. Like, being a football manager, there's not a lot of right and wrong ways to go about it. Doing what he did for the period that he did it and how he did it is objectively wrong. So I don't have much sympathy for him being sacked. I think it's quite funny, and we're definitely going to get some interview or some podcast in a couple of months' time where he speaks about it, and he's going to abuse everyone there, and it's going to be a good laugh. But who in their right mind would think Troy Deeney is a good manager? Like, and who would appoint him as the manager of their club? That's just, anyways. It just made me chuckle a lot. Yeah. So there's that. Let's move on again briefly. Because briefly want to speak on Deeney, not for too long. Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson has departed Saudi Arabia. It's gone to Ajax. Now, I'm not going to sit here and speak about it from a footballing perspective. We all know everything about, I don't care about how he's going to fit into Ajax's team. Don't give a shit about that. Jordan Henderson is the first footballer to backflip. Yeah, first footballer to backflip. First footballer to be like, you know what, maybe the grass isn't always greener. What does he say about the future? Because I sat here a couple of months ago and I was like, football is being ruined. Football is being ruined by what they're doing, right? And it's sapping all the life out of the game, and it's really draining the life out of a lot of football supporters. But he's done the backflip. A lot of other players are discontent with the way that they're being treated, the climate, the league, the professionalism, the human rights. Funnily enough, probably should have thought about that before they left, hey? Or before they went there, hey? I'm not surprised, and I feel like this is not a landmark moment because it's one player leaving one club, right? I feel like this could be a pretty big monumental shift in the way that players approach moving to Saudi Arabia. Because Jordan Henderson is a completely fine footballer. Like, he'll go to Ajax and be fine, right? Will he be one of the best midfielders in the world? Probably not. Will he be one of the best English midfielders? Probably not. But he will go to Ajax, a top 7 league in England, and in Europe, sorry, and will be fine, right? He'll be completely fine. So it's not like he's in the prime of his career. It's not like he's very young, but it's not like he's 37 and on his last legs. But I think after this, players are now going to start looking at Saudi Arabia as the end. Once you go there, it's for 3 years. You make your money and you're done. That's it. Players like N'Golo Kante, who definitely still had levels to go, right, in terms of playing at elite level football in Europe. Jordan Henderson was still more than serviceable at Liverpool, right? Koulibaly, Jota from Celtic. These players who are still objectively good players that can play at a very good level in Europe or even in the Americas or wherever, they went to Saudi Arabia because they thought this is the new league. This is the new thing. This is going to be the new elite standard of football. Now, it's not. They've come to the realization that it's not, and I feel like now we're going to see the end or the shift in players who will go to Saudi Arabia. We're not going to see players like Benzema, who's at the prime of his career, go to Saudi Arabia anymore. It will be the 37, 38, 39-year-olds with 2 years left max to collect a paycheck, to do some ambassadorial roles, and that's it. I feel like Henderson's going to leave. We're going to see a couple more leave in January, in however long's left of January, and in the summer, and we're going to see the shift. And in my opinion, it's the best thing that could have happened because the way that they were doing it, yes, you could say that England have been doing it as well, but I think it's a completely different circumstance. The way that they've been doing it is really bad for football, and I'm happy that this has been the first step to almost reconciliation, to kind of fix the issue. It's a first step in fixing the issue, in my opinion. So that's good for Hendo. Good for Hendo. I didn't know what else he'd expect from going there because, like, what else would you expect from going there, realistically? Like, you know what you're signing up for, bro. Like, you know what you're signing up for. I don't get it. Like, did he think it was all going to be sunshine and rainbows and it was going to be a great league with good quality players and people all of a sudden going to flock to see Kalidou Koulibaly play football? Like, no, mate. Like, you need to look at it from a purely objective perspective. Take away the fucking rose-tinted glasses. Take away the fucking dollar signs and look at what you are actually stepping into. People were blinded by the money, and I get it because at the end of the day, if Jordan Henderson turned around, and I think I said this right when everything initially kicked off, when Jordan Henderson went, or when Neymar went, or whoever, if they had turned around and said, you know what, this is my profession, football is my job, football is the way that I put food on the table. I need to secure my family's future and future generations of my family for them to be financially secure. This move will ensure that. So I can't pass up on this opportunity. I think people would have turned around and be like, you know what, fair enough. At the end of the day, football is a job. Football is there to put food on food on tables, to put like roofs over people's heads. I don't blame you. But it was this whole circus act of, I'm going to fix the culture and we need to like change in the Middle East and all this shit. No, mate, like they're set in their ways. They're set in their ways. Don't try and Jordan Henderson. You're not going to fix anything, mate. Like, you need to look at it from an objective perspective, which I don't think they did. And I don't think a lot of them did. And I think it's now like the first proper change in that, which I think is good because it needed to happen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what more to say. Regarding that. I don't know. Just he's one of those things. Okay, let's move on again. I don't know what else more to say. It's like I don't see a world in which this could have ended any other way. Like did people and did more or less did Saudi Arabia genuinely think that they would become a footballing powerhouse as a league? I don't think people understand the nuances of football. Like, people with so much money who aren't football fans don't understand the nuances of football. It takes generations. We've seen it in the A-League. You can't fucking turn a league. You can't make a league and have it be perfect. Maybe America is the exception because that country, maybe that's the exception, right? Because they've got a rich sporting history with the other codes. They've got as much money as they could possibly want, and they've got a population the size of a lot of people, right? So maybe they're the exception. But Saudi Arabia don't have a rich sporting culture in any sport, right? They have a pretty good footballing history. Like, they've produced some good players. Like, they've constantly, especially in my lifetime since 2004, they've always been a threat in Asia at World Cups. I really don't like Australia versus Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia are a good footballing team. Like, we saw what they did at the World Cup, right? But as a league, they don't have a rich sporting culture. Do they have the population? I don't know what the population of Saudi Arabia is. This is testing my geography knowledge. Saudi Arabia population. 34 million. 35 million. So it's not it's, what is it? 34 million, that's 10% bigger than Australia, or whatever it is, 12% bigger than Australia. In terms of population, the country itself is really small, which I guess helps when it comes to developing a football league, right? Which is one of the reasons why Australia struggles, but that's by the by. But they don't have the hundreds of millions of people that the US have. It's like people think money is the fix of everything, and in most cases it is, but football's a different story. Football doesn't care about money when it comes to building a tradition and building something from the ground up. Without the fans, football's nothing, and when 600 people rock up to your games, regardless of what the quality on the pitch you've got, regardless of how much money you've splashed out on the pitch or on the players and on training grounds and on teams and on squads and on clubs, it doesn't matter. So, I don't know. If we see a mass exodus, which I do think we will see, I think it will speak volumes. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it all. All right, let's move on, and let's speak on some Asian Cup football. Before I speak on Australia, I just want to speak before I speak on Australia, I want to give some context. So Australia obviously played and beat India, which you touched on. But since I recorded on Monday morning, some results have happened which have put the cat amongst the pigeons ever so slightly, right? First of all, which have put the cat amongst the pigeons ever so slightly. Saudi Arabia scraping past Oman is one of them. 96th minute penalty, right? That had to get them over the line. The UAE and Palestine drawing, I think, is a pretty, not big result, but shows the levels. Iraq beating Japan 2-1 shows the levels. Iran only beating Hong Kong 1-0, right? Despite the dominance, speaks levels. And Jordan drawing to South Korea, South Korea relying on a 91st minute own goal, speaks volumes. Look, Asia's difficult. Asia is really difficult. Same reason that AFCON's difficult. AFCON and the Asian Cup share the same intangible factor of when you play in this tournament, your form or your monetary value or what club you play in Europe or wherever, it does not matter. It does not matter. They are completely different ball games. Japan, on paper, have the strongest squad in the tournament, and it's not even close. They should, realistically, sweep this Asian Cup without even breaking a sweat, and yet they lost 2-1 to Iraq, right? It shows that these tournaments don't care because it's a completely different ballgame. When you have Iraq who sit back in 2 banks of 4 or even a bank of 5 or a bank of 4 and fight tooth and nail for every 50-50, every aerial duel, like their lives depend on it, it's a completely different game. Completely different game. In the Euros and in South America, in Copa America, maybe Copa America to a lesser extent, but in the Euros, you have these players who are on hundreds of thousands of pounds per week. Yeah, they don't really want to go too much into tackles because their club pays their wages and that's their main priority. Whereas when you have guys who are playing in like the Iraq League and in like the UAE League and in the Qatari League, where their nation is their pride and joy, right? And even in Africa, it's the same. When you have players playing in like the Tunisian First Division and the Algerian First Division and in the Egyptian First Division, like these are this is their World Cup. This is their World Cup for some of these players. So they will go tooth and nail, every single ball, 50-50s. They don't give a fuck, right? They don't care if you play for Real Sociedad and you're one of the best fucking young talents to come out of Asia in the last couple of years. They don't care if you scored at World Cups. They don't care if you play for Liverpool. They don't care if you're on £150,000 a week. They will fucking break your legs, get the ball and score. They don't give a fuck. And that, I think, separates the Asian Cup to a lesser extent, but to a very real extent in AFCON. Because the levels are different. Why do you think Drogba struggled at AFCON for so long? Why do you think Japan don't have a massively rich Asian Cup history? Like, why do you think South Korea haven't won an Asian Cup since 1963 or whatever it is? Like, there's levels. Big levels. So I just want to give that into context when I speak about Australia, because Australia played who the fuck did we play? Syria, and we won 1-0, right? And we won 1-0. It was a Jackson Irvine goal, the scrappiest of scrappy goals, right? And the scrappiest of scrappy goals. We played a relatively similar lineup. Gethin Jones remains in the squad somehow. Burgess played instead of Rouse. O'Neill played instead of Bacchus, and Boss played instead of Goodwin. That were the only changes. Yeah, they were. It was more of much of the muchness in that game. It was boring, bland, average, extremely average. There was no threat on the counter attack. There was no proper threat going forward. There was just nothing there for any sort of positivity going forward. It was one moment of brilliance from Boyle and a scrappy goalmouth scramble, which Irvine, once again, a moment of brilliance scored. Like, we've qualified. It's great. We've qualified. Awesome. I don't want to sit here and complain because I've just spoke about how difficult Asia and AFCON, or Asia, the Asian Cup, if we're going to speak about this, is to qualify, to do well in. So I'm not going to sit here and complain, especially when you're playing in the Middle East against like a Syria, right? It's difficult. But we should be doing better. Like, and it's not the fact that we should be doing better. It's the fact that there are such clear fucking ways of us doing better. Like, there are such clear ways of us doing better than what we were doing, like what we were doing in Syria. Like, how you can sit there and still persist with the same shit is just beyond me. Like, we won, great. We qualified, awesome. As long as we don't lose to Uzbekistan, we're going to qualify first, which is great, right? And we're going to put ourselves into a fantastic position to do well, at least make a semi-final. But the manner in which we're doing it is so fucking boring. Like, so boring. Like, I want to rip my eyeballs out every time I watch this team play. And I said it last week. I'm not questioning the mentality and I'm not questioning the heart, because these boys want it, right? And these boys want to step out every single time and win, and they are doing anything they can to win. They are being set up to fail. They're being set up like to play in a cowardice way of playing football, a risk-averse, risk-free, bland way of playing football, and you see the lack of criticism from the big parties, the boys in charge, because he gets results. Okay, he got results. He got results in Qatar. Great. He's getting results so far. Awesome. 2019 Asian Cup didn't get results. And it's almost as if we're Groundhog Day again. It's Groundhog Day again, because 2019 Asian Cup was the same thing. It was his bland, cowardice, average way of playing football. Granted, we've got a far better squad than we do in 2019. We're playing Apostolos Giannou up front in 2019. And like Josh Risdon. Like, with all due respect, boys. Come on. Like, we've got players now playing in the elite clubs. Like Riley McGree is one of the best players in one of the better teams in the championship, right? Or was last year anyway. Kashini Genji is one of the best. He's one of the best players, one of the better players, at a League One team, the top of League One, right? Championship level team. Like, they're good teams, good players, and we're playing just cowardice football. And the solution's there, because the players are there, boys. Like, guys, the players are there on the bench, not even in the squad. Like, love Martin Boyle. Should not be playing. Realistically, shouldn't be playing. Love Duke. For what he did in Qatar last year, mate, my heart grew 1,000 fucking sizes when he scored that goal against Tunisia. And I cried when he scored that goal, and I cried about his performance because he was that good. Like, he was fucked. But time's going to be long. And he won't be playing because he's got a hamstring injury, and I hope they play Bruno or Yenji, and I hope that fucking whoever plays fucking scores a lot of goals. And it'll be like, Mitchell, you're not getting back in this team because I'm better. Boss needs to play left back. I don't know what the fuck Arnie's doing playing him left wing. Unless he wants to turn him into Gareth Bale, play him on the right, but whatever. The midfield, Conor Metcalf, I like Conor Metcalf, but Riley McGree should be playing. I don't know why he's taken 4 defensive midfielders. Baffles my mind that he's taken 4 DMs. He's taken 4 DMs. 4 of them. He's taken 4 DMs. And like, unless he's thinking about playing Yazbek not as a DM, I don't know what he's like thinking, because he's taken Yazbek, Bacchus, O'Neill. Okay, 3 DMs, and then Metcalf and Irvine. So 5 defensively minded midfielders. I don't get it. Anyway, we won. Great. We're going to versus Uzbekistan, and we should win. I would love to see just any sort of experimentation. Silvera, Tilio, Yenji, McGree, Boss playing in his actual position. Fucking woof. Kenneth Jones shouldn't be playing. I don't know why he's brought up Kenneth Jones. You've got Atkinson. You've got Karacic. You've got Lewis Miller. You've got these completely serviceable right fullbacks that are equally as good, if not better than Kenneth Jones, and who are younger for the most part. I just do not get it. I just don't get it sometimes, and I'm laughing because we're winning and we've won. We did well in the World Cup, so I'm not going to sit here and abuse him for that. And we're winning, so I can't sit here and be so against it. If we start losing, then you'll see the bad side of it. But I'm sitting here and going maybe he does know more than me. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe Jordy Boss is a left winger. Maybe Aidan O'Neill is the future of the Socceroos. Maybe Mitchell Duke is the next coming of Mark Viduka. And I'm blind to the fact. But I don't know. Maybe surely other people are saying what I'm saying, because this is just fucked. Let's just win against Uzbekistan. Okay, let's not lose against Uzbekistan. I want to finish top of the group. Let's go on and just win the round 16, win the quarterfinals, and then from the semi-finals we'll see. But I just don't know. I would genuinely not be surprised if we lose in the round of 16 or the quarters to a UAE or a Qatar. Because in the same vein, Uzbekistan, I think, will give us a game. Will give us a big game, because that's the right team who are strong enough defensively and have the ability to hit us on the counter attack. Syria weren't able to do that, and India weren't able to do that. If we verse the UAE, forget about it. If we verse the UAE in the way that we're playing right now, we'll lose. Guarantee you. If we verse Qatar in the way that we're playing right now, Akram Afif will eat us alive on the counter attack. It's just lucky that if we verse Iran, Saudi Arabia, Japan, or South Korea, we're probably going to be like, all right, you guys have the ball and we'll hit you on the counter. Which is probably why and then the team that we played against India, or the team that we played against Syria, that's when you play that team. That's when you play the midfield of Bacchus, Irvine, and Metcalf. That's when you play Jordy Boss as left wing up. That's when you play Duke up front and Boyle, because they're direct and they're quick and they're built for counter attacks. That's when you do it. You don't do it against Uzbek. You don't do it against Syria. You play McGree, you play Bruno, you play Silvera, you play Tilio. You play players who have the ability to get on the ball and make something happen, to be dynamic, to be direct, to float and are tactically nuanced enough to come up with patterns and play on the fly, overlapping fullbacks, inverted fullbacks, fucking something, instead of just quick players out wide, cross the ball into the box. I'm ranting and raving, as you can probably tell, but oh well. This podcast will come out a couple of hours before the Uzbekistan game, so I don't know the result. As if you're watching this, you probably will about to find out the result very soon, or already do know the result. Let's just win. Firstly, let's just win. That would be fucking fantastic if we could do that. And then let's just go from there. 43 minutes. I think that's enough. Thank you all very much for watching another episode of the 2 Foot Attack podcast. I've been your host, Ari Stamatakos. Thank you very much for stopping by. We'll chat very, very soon. Stay well, stay safe. I hope all your sporting clubs win over the week. I hope Australia win. Chelsea playing Middlesbrough in the second leg of the AFL Cup semi-final. Fingers crossed we win, because I really want to win a trophy this season. But apart from that, that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for stopping by. Stay well, stay safe. See you guys next week. Goodbye. I'll do the fridge.